Well, now we are live on our formats, and here we go, folks. Here we go. Here we go. Boy, we have a really interesting show tonight. We'll be talking about that in just a second. And this introduction is still being played in my ear for Spreaker. So now we are live on all of our formats, and we're going to have a really interesting conversation tonight. But before we do, everybody, there's a couple things that we have to talk about. First of all, if you want to go to a site that has all kinds of really cool places, just amazing shows, well, look, you're going to have to do yourself a favor, and you need to go to, of course, KGRADB. So it's KG, thank you, KGRADB.com. And make sure you go to that website. If you go to that website, it's a really cool site. They have a lot of amazing shows there. And of course, well, this show airs there as well. So we're really happy about that. But put Bishop as your promo code, because if you do that, then you're going to have a nice 30% off your subscription. So you know what? If you can do that, that's a good thing. But but make sure you put Bishop. You got to put Bishop on your promo code. Also, if you want to go to my website, it's very simple too. You can just go to Bishop James Long, bishopjameslong.com. Very, very simple, bishopjameslong.com. And you can check that out. And by the way, on that website, on bishopjameslong.com, people are always asking me about my social media. Well, my social media links are listed there. So it's all listed. So the Spreaker is there. I do have all of my shows on Spreaker format, so you can go back and listen to it later, or you can watch it later on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or KGRDB Radio. So, and also the church's website at usocc.org. That is the church's website, and that is all the information. I've been fighting with this background here for earlier today, but I think I don't know, for some reason it just it's not wanting to be polite. There's a picture, there's a thing. I wonder if I just turn it off. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and KGRDB Radio. It's kind of acting cray because I have this light behind me. So yeah. So anyway, bishopjameslong.com, and of course usocc.org. That's where you need to go. And if you want to, fine. If not, that's okay too. For those of you who are on TikTok, now let me just say I want to thank you all for offering gifts to the ministry. So thank you for that. And I appreciate all of you. Now, for those of you who don't know, on TikTok, for the first hour, we do have subscription-only chat. We have to because of the trolls. We don't want to, but we have to. That's just the way it is. So it's just a way of our getting rid of the trolls. You know what? We have to do it. Isn't that terrible? You have to go through something like that, but we have to, because it just gets too bad. It just gets too disruptive. So we're going to put sub chat only for the first hour, and then I will, of course, entertain all your other questions on the second hour. So at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll open it up to everybody. But the first hour is strictly the only people that can chat on TikTok are the people who subscribe, and we appreciate that. Today, our guest, I've known this gentleman for a long time. Back in the 1920s, we met, and I've known him and his wife for quite some time, and we've been good buddies ever since. And so we're going to talk to Willie Windwalker Gibson. As you know, Willie is a shaman. He's a supernatural consultant. He is the founder of the Soul Warriors Supernatural. And his team is based in Louisville, Kentucky. He has 2 books, The Shaman Windwalker and Soul Warriors. And by the way, they can be found on Amazon. So make sure you go there. Now, of course, Willie he offers animal totem readings, cleansings, blessings, and weddings. He is Cherokee and Irish. He lives in Louisville with his wife, Shaman, which are both, she's just a little angel. And he's a UFO contactee, by the way, and has been abducted. He has been abducted. And tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about that. But the story is going to be rather interesting, because today we're going to talk about the unveiling. Now, let me explain this before we get Willie in here. Let me explain, because I think I have to explain what this is all about first, in layman's terms. So we're going to try to understand how this spiritual veil is lifting. Thank you. There's a lot of people in the paranormal community who truly believe that the spiritual realm that we live in, what we exist, we're all spiritual beings, but the veil between the spiritual world and the physical world is thinning. And we'll talk, basically, this journey of introspection and discovery, we're going to delve into a profound concept of the spiritual veil lifting. See, throughout history and even across cultures, there's been a prevailing belief in the existence of a veil that separates our physical world from the spiritual realm. So hopefully in this presentation, we'll explore the significance of the veil, its impact on our lives, and how, as individuals and as a collective, we're witnessing its gradual lifting. Now, to be fair, over 20 years ago, when I was doing online radio, strictly online radio, people were saying that the veil was lifting then. So let's be transparent, because they did. There were a lot of people saying that the veil was lifting. So what we're going to talk about briefly is we're going to define what is the spiritual veil. What's its historical, the cultural significance. I'm going to talk to Willie in just a second about the veil influences that our perception of reality and spirituality. And we're going to talk about the duality and the interconnectedness of the relationship to the veil. There's a lot that we have to cover, and that's just the beginning. So, Willie, let's have you, Willie, come on and chat with us and get him on the radio with us. Hello there, Willie.
Hi, James. How are you doing?
Well, I'm fantastic, and I appreciate you being here again.
Sure, anytime.
Yeah, people loved to have you. They loved having you on last time, and so did I. You're always a wealth, a plethora of knowledge. So it's nice that you are able to jump on and chat with us. So thank you, Willie.
Okay, anytime, James.
So let me ask you this question: if the first part of this discussion that I want to talk about is I want to define what the spiritual veil is from my perspective. We're going to talk about the historical and cultural significance. I want to talk about the first section about how this veil influences our perception of reality and spirituality, and then explore the idea of duality. So, you want me to begin, and then I'll just start throwing some questions at you. You like that, Willie?
Okay, that'll be fine.
All right. Now, this is from my perspective of this particular section. The concept of a spiritual veil is often used in spiritual and metaphysical teachings to represent the separation between the physical world and the spiritual realm. This veil acts as a barrier. It prevents, many people say that veil prevents direct communication, interaction between two realms, the spiritual and the physical, making it difficult for people to fully connect with their higher selves, their guides, spiritual beings, past loved ones. So the spiritual veil is said to exist to help humans maintain a sense of individuality and focus on their physical experiences and growth. It creates a sense of duality and separation that allows us to learn important lessons and evolve on a personal level. Now, there's a lot of spiritual practices and beliefs. It focuses on ways to transcend or even pierce this veil in order to access higher states of consciousness, connect with spiritual beings, gain deeper insights into the nature of reality. There's a lot of techniques out there. It's like meditation, energy work, spiritual rituals are often used to help individuals raise their vibration and thin the veil, if you will, that allows for a greater connection to the spiritual realm. So understanding the nature of the spiritual veil, it can help individuals navigate their spiritual journey, develop a deeper connection to the higher self, access the wisdom and guidance available from the spiritual realm, which I think does exist. And by acknowledging and working with this veil, individuals can open themselves up to a spiritual world of possibilities and experiences. Now, so given that little brief synopsis of the first section that I want to talk about, Willie, when people have these techniques to lift the veil, if you will, or to try to make that connection with the spirit world. And a lot of people teach these techniques, these meditation techniques, how you can do this, how you can. But when you open yourselves up to a world of spiritual possibilities and experiences, can't that also open yourself up to some serious backlash?
Sure can, James. A lot of people, before they try to make contact or do mediumships, they will do prayers and things like that for protection. I know when I was in my training as a shaman, that's the first thing that you're taught, how to protect yourself, because the veil, once you penetrate it and open that door, anything can rush in. One of the things that I would like to ask you before we really get started is,
yeah.
we all know that demons were cast from heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you ever wonder where they're at? I mean, you can't deal with a demon until you see a possession. In your opinion, do you think that they are hiding behind the veil, or they are here, but you can't see them?
Yeah, I think they are. I think people forget many times that demons are incredibly intelligent. They are not stupid. They are ancient beings. They know human nature very, very well. Keep in mind, they have been around for millennia. So these are not brand new beings. These are ancient, smart, and conniving, vindictive, hateful. We're talking about demons. We're talking about hateful, vengeful, vile beings. And the goal of a demon is to just try to destroy and cause torture to the living temple of the Holy Spirit, to the image of God that we're created in. We are created in God's image. And to destroy and desecrate God's image is the ultimate goal, what they want to do. And they will use every technique, everything that they can in order to destroy this living temple of the Holy Spirit. So if they can desecrate the image of God, they're going to do it in a heartbeat. And I think that's why a lot of people who, in my opinion, when they start lifting that veil and they start doing things that they should not do, demons are not dumb. They are opportunists, and they wait patiently for the great opportunity to make you think that you're communicating with a nice, loving spirit, when in fact you're communicating with a demon that's looking right at you and waiting to take a bite out of you. So yeah, I believe that demons are quite conniving, very intelligent, unbelievably manipulative to now I'm talking about extreme manipulation, far more sadistic than any sadistic human being you can think of on earth. We think, for example, of serial killers. They're very sadistic. Serial killers can't hold a candle. They can't hold a light. They can't even hold a brief light compared to the sadistic behavior of a demon. There's no comparison. Demons make people like John Wayne Gacy look like an angel. So I want you to think about that for a moment. Demons make Dahmer look like a saint. That is how foul and vile that these creatures are. And they will stop at nothing to desecrate the image of God. And that's the dangers.
James, do you think, we're talking about the veil, do demons have their own place they stay until they're conjured, or until they prey on the weak, or are invited in by somebody? Do they have their own section that they stay in, or do they mingle behind the veil with the other spirits?
Well, I think both. And I think they're quite capable of doing this. And that's why a lot of times when people use certain tools to communicate with the spirit world, I tell people all the time, you knock it off. If you don't know what you're doing, if you do not know what you're doing, you're opening that door. And that can really cause a lot of problems. That's why people playing with Ouija boards, and I know you've had cases where people play with Ouija boards and they think it's a fun game because that's the whole point of the manufacturer. The manufacturer is advertising it as just a simple, innocent game. And it's not. People, you have to understand something. When you play with these type of divination tools, you need to understand, if you're not a shaman, if you're not doing this for the purpose of trying to investigate to determine what's going on in this home, there are consequences for that action. And when you start doing this, that's called thinning the veil. That's the term. So you thin that veil between the spiritual world and the physical realm, the material world, us. And once you begin to play with these type of devices, you're thinning that veil. And once you thin that veil, then that's a form of communication. And once you have that communication and that invitation, that is when the demon can absolutely latch on. And people are always afraid constantly about the demons being everywhere. And if I watch a scary movie, am I going to be possessed? I mean, how many times have you had that? How many times have you experienced people say, if I watch a paranormal movie or paranormal show, I'm going to be possessed?
Yeah, I get it all the time.
Now, have you had cases where people, I'm sure I know you have, where people have done especially with people who want to connect? Here's the deal. When people want to connect to their loved ones, they're very desperate, and they just want to hear that one more voice. They want to hear that one more time saying, it's okay. I'm okay. Don't worry. Be at peace. How many times have you had cases where people then thin the veil by doing things that they should not have done, either play with Ouija boards or whatever, and then made connection with they thought was their loved one, but actually was not? So can you tell us of a case where you had something like that?
Yeah, well, James, it's all about faith. And a lot of people all over the world are losing their faith. And they don't realize when you lose your faith, you actually thin that veil even more.
Good point. That's a great point.
Yeah, it's a key. You're a key to open up that veil to let something in. Now, I had a case one time involving a Ouija board, and a lot of people will call you into an investigation. I've had this done before, and I tell you they've used the Ouija board, and they've got a haunting now, and they've let something in that they didn't want to be let in. They were trying to talk to mom or talk to dad, and all heck breaks loose, and I have to deal with it. That's why, you have to, when you're doing a paranormal investigation, you have to do a little detective work. Hey, do you go to church? Do you believe in God? Do you participate in satanic rites? Do you play with a Ouija board? Oh yeah, we play with. We wanted to talk to my dad, and we sat down on the floor, and then he started talking to us. And so really, they really don't realize. They don't know how to use it. You can't buy a Ouija board, pull it off a shelf, or take it home and play with it like a game.
Right.
That's what I don't understand. They sell these Ouija boards as family fun. They're not family fun. It's a key to open up the veil to let things in. And I've got to tell people out there, if you've lost your mother and dad, and they've left this body, and they've gone over on the other side beyond the veil, what people don't realize, as long as you love them, they can come back and transition. They can come back and forth because there's rules. They can come back and forth, and evil things can't unless they're invited in. People don't realize that.
That's right, because they're not. People are always so afraid. Oh my gosh, something fell off the desk, so it must be a demon, or I heard a noise, so it must be a demon. And then it does not help that you have teams who are very inexperienced. They're not seasoned investigators at all, and then they go into a location and immediately screaming demon, 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 and that's all that does is just feed into that false narrative, and that there was never a demon in the first place.
Well, James, true mediums, the real deals, and there's a lot of fakes out there, and I've debunked a lot of them. As a matter of fact, a lot of people will not work events with me if they know I'm going to be there, because they know that I know they're a con, and they use that as a technique to take people for their money. And they know there's a veil out there, and they know that if they start playing around with this stuff, something's liable to happen. But true mediums and shamans are taught this from, the time you start. Shamans are not taught with books. They're taught by an elder, another shaman that's been in this. And these shamans, teachers will tell you about the veil and what to do and what not to do. And a lot of people ask me about the circle, a shaman uses. Okay, that can be used for anything. It's all about intent. You can use that for healing. You can use that for calling in the spirits, but they know how to protect themselves to bring that spirit into the circle. We call it the circle, or earth, north, south, east, and west. We use all that, but we got to know what we're bringing in. Shamans are given keys, and these keys are known how to be used. And if you use that key the wrong way to open that door to the other side, and it could cause a massive problems.
Yeah.
As well as I do, James, you've done many possessions, and as you looked into the possession, you usually find why that possession happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the veil was opened the wrong way.
That's right. Now, and of course, let me just say this because I think it's important. I think it's very important that everybody understands. I am not advocating lifting a spiritual veil for anything. I'm educating. So I have people from all walks of life that I have friends, and I'm not saying that what I am. And by the way, I want to make this very clear. I do believe there are people who are absolutely gifted psychic mediums. I don't care what anyone says, and I'm speaking to one over the phone right now. And his wife Shaman is just as gifted. I know Willie. I have tested Willie myself. And I absolutely 100% will vouch for Willie. One thing that I have in the paranormal community is my integrity, and I have my reputation. I don't charge. I never charge a dollar in my life. Never. I've worked for over 20 years to build a reputation of a person who's knowledgeable and who's respectful and who the integrity cannot be questioned. Now, I will never, ever go online and ever vouch for anybody unless I know for a fact that person was gifted. So I'm telling you, I have no problems telling every single person who's watching this now or later that Willie Windwalker Gibson is a true shaman and is a true medium and an absolute gifted psychic. And no, he does not belong. He doesn't belong to the devil. He doesn't worship. Thank you, Missy. He doesn't worship the devil. He is a Christian as well as his wife. They are very devout Christians. These are gifts that God bestows upon people. And I'll talk about the Old Testament and I'll explain that again for the millionth time. And I want to say this also. Meditation is not evil. Prayer is a form of meditation. So meditation is not, there's nothing wrong with meditation. Meditation actually has been proven by science to lower blood pressure, to calm the anxiety. It's wonderful. When I used to teach kids who had behavioral and learning disabilities, many times we would do a form like a meditation techniques to calm them down when they were in an uproar and they had difficulties controlling their emotions. I helped them with meditation techniques to lower that anxiety, and it worked. I was there. I was a teacher. I was certified in the state of Kentucky to teach middle school students. So meditation is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with meditation. However, when you are, well, thank you, Bobby. When you're using meditation for the sole purpose of thinning that veil to make communication with the spirit world, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to hurt yourself and you're going to hurt the person that you claim that you're helping. I have a question for you, Willie, and I've always wanted to know this. I'm not psychic. I'm not a medium. I've never said that I am. I think we all have gifts. I think we all have abilities. Perhaps, maybe down the road. Okay, fine, whatever. I think I certainly am empathic. I think all clergy should be. I mean, that's the ability to feel the emotions of an individual. I mean, that's empathy should be something we should all feel. Unfortunately, these days, there's a lack of empathy throughout social media. That's for sure. But I've always wanted to ask you, as an experienced psychic medium, as a shaman, how do you protect yourself from meditation to connecting to the spirit world, to thinning the veil so that you can make communication to the spirit world, to communicate with perhaps a deceased loved one. How do you protect yourself? How do you make sure that something evil doesn't come through and manipulate you? Because after all, we're all human beings. We can be manipulated by something that's far more conniving and evil as a demon is. So what do you do? What are your techniques?
The number one technique, James, and you know this very well, is prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Good over evil. And I have used this many times. You know, that's the main thing that any medium or sensitive uses when they try to make contact, or even when they go and do battle with something that's come through that veil and take them and try to drive them back where they come from. And being Native American, I know you did a show, I don't know if it was last week or week before last, on sage.
Yep.
You know, if I'm going to do something heavy in my house, I'll go through and I'll sage everywhere. You know, I'll sage, even sage the closets. I'll sage the mirrors. I'll sage even the TV set. Anything that can bring something in, access where I'm at. And if it's really, really heavy, I will go ahead and do my circle, and I'll either use my stones, or I will, if I'm outdoors, I'll even use salt and make a circle and get into it. I've even made circles in houses that were really haunted. I mean, really nasty. And I really didn't know how much evil that was in there. And I've even, when I've taken teams in, I've made a giant salt circle, and I've told them, if you think something's that you need to get away from something, you come and get into the circle. Don't break the circle, but get into the circle and stand there until I get there. I've used all kinds of tools like that, but the number one thing in my weaponry, you say, is prayer.
Yep, that's absolutely. I mean, and I agree. And now someone, let's see, someone has a subscriber ask a question. Let me follow it. Doc Susie, that's a good question. Doc Susie said, I thought sage agitates the demon. Actually, it can. And that is a form of provocation. However, just like if I go into a location and I use incense. Now, I do use sage. My grandmother was Native American. She was Cherokee. My father was Cherokee. So I have no problems using sage whatsoever. And I've talked about that before. Matter of fact, I did a presentation just last week about the benefits of using sage. And I have no issues. Remember, there are many apartment complexes that will not allow you to use charcoal. So that's what we use. In the church center, we use a round charcoal, and it's very hot. And you burn it, and many apartment complexes will not allow you to burn charcoal inside. So, but they have no problem with you using sage. Thank you. So I bless the sage, and then I use that to bless the area. Now, if you have a demonic infestation and it's violent, I'm using a blessed item. That's called a sacramental, just like Willie's talking about blessed salt or holy water. Those are sacramentals. So if you use these items, you could absolutely, no question, you could get a response. The response could be either way, agitation. It could be either agitation, or it could be, okay, we're leaving. So that's why I tell people, if you have no demonic issue and it's just a negative energy and you just want to remove that energy, then lift your windows in sage. You're not going to have a problem with it. Demonic infestation is not as rampant as everybody thinks it is. Everybody thinks that every home is demon possessed, and it's just not. It's just not, folks. So what I say to you is it does occur. But if you're going to use these items, you really should make sure, especially if it's a demonic infestation. If you are truly having a demonic infestation in your home, folks, please, you need to get clergy involved. If you're Native American, get somebody like Willie, or get somebody who understands that type of spirituality and that training, who get a shaman. If you're obviously Native American or Christian, then get a clergy member to come in and help you. You don't have to fight this by yourself. Well, let's see. We use let's see. The thing I can use is incense to block the smell of all the demons there. No, we don't use. Actually, it's biblical, and that's what talks about how the smoke from the censer, may the smoke from the censer rise as our prayers into the heavens. So it's scripture is why we use this. And using salt, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a common practice in many cultures and traditions, it believes to have purifying and protective properties. Salt is considered to be a powerful symbol of purity, protection against negative energies. And so by sprinkling blessed salt around the home or placing even bowls of it in different rooms, people believe that that helps ward off evil beings. Now, I have had cases, and Willie, I'm sure you probably have too, where you have people may have used the blessed salt and it did absolutely nothing at all, because you could have a demonic that could be quite aggressive.
But not only that, James, you have to believe in what you're doing.
Right.
It's just like if you have a cross,
Yep.
people say, well, if you get a cross and you go in there and you tackle this demon and it'll run for you. No, it won't. No,
That's
it
right.
won't, because it knows that you're just using that. You're using that object, and you're not putting the faith that goes with that object. You know, and that's happened before. People have called me and said, "Well, I think I've got a demon." You know, and I'll go, do the investigation. And usually, if I'm going to go tackle something like that, I'll know before I get there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've walked up on properties before to go into a house, and I know what's in there, and I will not tackle it unless I, call a clergy. See, back when I first started, there was no paranormal clergy.
Right.
If you go to a priest and tell them, "Hey, I think this place has got a demon in it," they will not even touch it.
That's right.
So it was left up to me to see what I could do, and there's been a couple of times, James, I didn't think I was going to make it out, because clergy, when you ask the priest to come in and do an exorcism, they have their own way of doing things,
Mm-hmm.
and they know what they have to do. A novice will go in, and if they feel like me, I still consider myself a novice, because I can go in and I can sense there's a veil there, okay, and there's something that's came out of it. How do I get that thing to go back in? I do the best I can with my techniques. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it don't. It takes a caller to come in and do the job. But James, people don't understand. There are certain stages that you got to go to get an exorcism done.
Well, I would describe you as many things, but one thing I would not ever describe you as is a novice. But you are being far too humble. You are not. I know you have taken on some really heavy cases. And
well, James, I'll tell people a little bit of story. Oh, I don't know. It could maybe 15, 20 years ago, you sent me out on a case with Father David, and we went.
Yeah.
I think it was Ohio,
mm-hmm.
and we went to this place, James, and as we got into the area, I mean, there was corn everywhere they were complete blocks of corn. It looks like something out of a Stephen King movie. We drove into this block, the whole neighborhood, and I could feel, this don't feel good at all. And there was kids involved. I won't go into the case. There was kids involved, and it wound up Father David had to do a mass, and we called. He called and said, we were getting ready to do, and you told me stand with David,
mm-hmm.
and if he runs into any problems, if you run into any Native American problems, you can take it. So him and me actually went into the house and did a mass. I mean, it was wonderful. I mean, he had all these clerics on and the censer going, and we did that, and whatever was there left. I mean, it was getting ready to draw down on these people, and David was able to get it out of there. That's what I'm talking about. I have worked with Buddhists and everything else in my life, and I have no problem working with other clergy.
Sure, and we have to be ecumenical. And for those of you who are offering gifts to the ministry on TikTok, I sincerely thank you. I'm so sorry that I've not thanked you individually. So thank you, and for those of you subscribing, thank you as well. I appreciate all of you guys. And you're right, Willie. You mentioned several times faith. I want to remind everybody on in a biblical passage, Acts chapter 19, verse 13 through 16. The sons of Sceva, They were running around, and they were, they came up to a person that was possessed, and they say, "I adjure you by the Jesus whom Paul proclaims." And so this demon then says, "Jesus I know, and Paul I recognize, but who are you?" And then they were overpowered by this demon. The demon leapt on them and mastered them and did some serious damage and overpowered them to the point, ripped their clothes off. They ran out, and the whole entire town then, just removed all the books of, other than of Yahweh. I mean, it was pretty powerful. They all pagan books. They burned them. But that's an actual true story. It's the sons of Sceva, Acts chapter 19, verse 13 through 16. And you have to have that faith. You have to have the faith, because lifting up a cross and saying the power of Christ compels you. If you don't have true, strong, powerful faith in Christ, then first of all, it's making a mockery of it. So that's number one. And number two, you have no business. Nobody has. People were asking me, well, what prayers? During an exorcism, I perform what's called the minor rite of exorcism. So let's say a demonic has infested itself within the home. Now, they don't possess the home. There's no such thing as possessing the home. They infest the home. And you perform the minor rite of exorcism. I don't perform an exorcism on a home. I perform an exorcism on the demonic that has infested themselves within the home. So I bless the home. I force the entity to manifest through prayer. That's provocation. And then I perform the exorcism. That's the minor rite of exorcism. Now, that's different than the solemn rite of exorcism. The solemn rite is performed on an individual who is possessed, where the demon has total control of the body. Now, the person doesn't remember the stage of possession. They go into a catatonic state. They have no memory of it at all. So, but you're fighting the demon that has possessed the body. So that's the solemn rite of exorcism, which, by the way, the first form of rite was written in 1614. Thank you, Missy. Now, I want to jump into this. I want to make this transition into signs and symptoms that perhaps point towards the lifting of the veil, perhaps personal experiences we can talk about, and the role of intuition. I think this is important. Now, a lot of people say that the sign of the veil, the spiritual veil, lifting between the material world, physical world that we live in, versus the spiritual world, can vary from person to person. But many people say this, and Willie, I'll ask you for your input on this in just a second. So there are some people say that these are the signs of knowing if the spiritual veil is lifting from the material, from the spiritual. Heightened to intuition or psychic abilities, increased sensitivity to energies and spirits, enhanced psychic dreams or visions, feeling more connected to the spiritual realm, seeing flashes of lights or shadows, feeling a shift of energy around you, experiencing these interesting situations, meaningful coincidences, like your loved ones sending you messages all the time, feeling a stronger presence of spirit guides or loved ones who have passed, feeling a sense of clarity or misunderstanding, or not misunderstanding, or understanding about spiritual concepts, and then finally experiencing a stronger connection to nature or the divine. Now, I will tell everybody, I see God in nature. This is why, for me, it's very important that I go out for my walk, because that's my time, not only to take care of the physical body, but it also takes care of my spirituality. I find God in nature. Nature. This is why I'm such a lover of Colorado or Alaska. That to me is as close to God as you get. I'm not a big fan of great big huge golden cathedrals, because actually when I go to a golden cathedral and everything is gold, I get irritated, because I think, how many people can we feed if we just sold that one painting that's on that wall? So to me, that's what I think. I understand. That's just me. So I find God in simplicity. That's where I find. Thank you, Missy. That's where I find God, in simplicity, the simple things. So yeah, I absolutely would say this. What do you think about those? Heightened intuition or psychic abilities, increased sensitivity to energies or spirits, and enhanced psychic dreams or visions, feeling more connected to the spiritual realm, seeing flashes or light to shadows. Do any of those resonate with you, Willie?
Yeah, all the time, James. But we were talking about the veil getting thinner.
Mm-hmm.
reason it's getting thinner is because people's faith is not as strong as it used to be. If people get their faith up high, no matter what no matter if they're Catholic or they're Jewish or whatever they believe in, if they get that faith up high, we can patch that veil to keep whatever it is on the other side at bay. I mean, if we want to actually open a key, take that key and open the veil temporarily to say you want to talk to a loved one or something like that, what I'm telling people, you don't need that key. I mean, people that are good, that were on this earth, like a mother or a father or something like that, all you got to do is sit down and pray. Could you send me a message, or could you give me some kind of a intuition that you hear me talking? Now, I've seen my dad several times, but the first time I saw him was 2 weeks after he died, and when he died, he didn't have any legs because he was an amputee because of diabetes, and I was the one that had to make a decision to having his legs cut off, and it played really, really hard on me. And I've told you this story before, and I would 2 weeks after I buried him, I went into his room and laid on his bed and was looking straight up at the ceiling, and this was morning time, and I felt a tug at my feet, and I rose up in the bed, and there's my father standing there, and he's smiling at me, and he's all glowy, and he knew that it was on my mind that it was my fault that he lost his legs, but I was trying to save his life. So he kind of glided over to the side of the bed and looked down, told me to look down, pointed down, and he had his feet. He didn't have any shoes or anything. I could see his feet and his toes and everything. I looked up at him, and he smiled at me, and and then he kind of glided away, and then he disappeared back into what I think is the veil, or heaven, or whatever you want to call it. So it depends on intent.
Mm-hmm.
When you ask for this veil to be open, a lot of people will, like you said, novice, they'll get the Ouija board out and they'll rip a hole in the veil and whatever come in, and then you got a problem. And it takes somebody like us to go in and do a blessing or whatever to heal that rip in the veil.
And I want to say this again, because I maybe a lot of people need to hear this, and I get a lot of flack from it, and that's okay. Hey, look, it comes with the territory. That's fine. That's fine. I can take it. I have a thick skin. Believe me, I've been called everything but my name. I believe, I'm going to say it again, I absolutely am convinced that there are people who are truly gifted psychic mediums. I believe, I stand firm on that belief. I know people who are gifted. I'm not going to deny what I know. So people can argue, biblically and theologically, they can argue all day long, and so can I. But this is what I absolutely believe. Maybe one day, Willie, maybe we'll do a presentation on people who have always been interested. How does a person develop their psychic or mediumship skills? And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of flack for it. I don't care, because there are things that I stand firm on. And I know there are people who are going to disagree. That's okay. Cool, whatever. But I'm not going to, for me to deny that people have gifts would be for me to deny that Willie does. And I'm not going to do that because I know that you do. So, people are saying that they would like that. If you would like for me to do that, then put it in the chat box. If you want me to perhaps ask Willie, we're doing it now. Well, let's do it now. Willie, if we have a show, and if you're able to teach people how they're able to develop their psychic or mediumship business, or if they even know their psychic and mediumship or medium, would you be willing to do that?
Sure.
Okay, so there we go. If you guys are interested in me doing that and having that type of show, thank you, Missy. Thank you, Missy. If you would like for me to do that, then I'll do it. Understand, I'm going to get tons of hate. Don't care. Okay, there we go. We're going to do it. It's done. Everyone's saying yes. Fine. So we are going to do a presentation on number one. How do you know if you're a psychic or a medium? How do you know? How are you what are the ways? And by the way, what a lot of people don't know is I worked with Willie for, gosh, I can't remember how many months we did it, where we kind of worked about testing my own psychic mediumship skills and abilities. And we'll talk about that, because I asked Willie, so I want to know what this is all about. I want to see what this is about, and we'll talk about that. We'll discuss that. Now, so when people are lifting that veil, that's obviously the communication is there. So let's talk about this. I want to focus on the effects of the veil lifting between the material and the physical, the material and the spiritual. The effects of the veil lifting on individual consciousness and spiritual growth. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how the lifting of the veil can lead to a deeper connection to oneself, others, and I think even the universe. Now, the veil, the lifting of the veil, for those of you who just tuned in, I'm talking to Willie Windwalker Gibson. He's a shaman. And the lifting of the veil refers to the act of revealing hidden information or bringing transparency to a situation. It can have various impacts depending on the context in which it occurs. So here are some of my things that I kind of, when I took notes and prepared for this show. Here are some potential impacts on lifting the veil or thinning the veil between the physical world and the spiritual world. One, improved accountability. So when the veil is lifted, it becomes more difficult for individuals or organizations to hide behind secrecy. This can lead to increased accountability, responsibility for actions taken. There's an increase in transparency. So lifting the veil can lead to greater transparency in decision-making process, financial transactions, many people say. It can help build trust. Enhanced understanding, also revealing hidden information. And I'm not talking about Gnosticism. I'm not talking about Gnosticism, but for example, if you want to make a connection with a loved one, and there was one case where someone worked with a psychic that I know, psychic medium, and the individual, their family member, had passed away, and they could not find the will. And they were having major problems. I mean, major issues with, what belongs to who. And they spoke to a person who was psychic medium. And this individual said, "You're going to find the will here." They found it. Now, that's what I'm talking about as far as understanding. To me, that's pretty remarkable. And so lifting the veil or thinning the veil, it can be significant, but and it holds people, I think, accountable. But let me ask you this, Willie. If someone goes to a psychic medium and they want to make that connection to a loved one, here's the $1 million question that I think everybody should know. What are the signs? What are the red flags of saying, okay, you know what, this person is lifting that veil and not speaking to whom I think they should be speaking to? Perhaps maybe they're speaking to something evil and that they don't know how to protect themselves. They did not do prayer in the beginning. So if I go to, let's say, for example, John Doe loses his loved one, and he's under extreme emotional stress, totally understandable, and he goes to a psychic medium because he wants closure. What are the red flags that you can look out for, that you know that this person is thinning the veil, but they're not speaking to whom you think they should be speaking to?
Are you talking about somebody conning somebody?
Yeah, I mean, let's say that someone is conning, but also somebody. A lot of people go to mediums, psychic mediums, and they don't know them, and the person saying, "Oh yes, I know, I'm a psychic medium. I can do this, and then they pay sometimes an exorbitant amount of money, and they think they're going to try to communicate with their loved one or hear that that last message that they need to hear. So when you're talking about lifting the veil or thinning the veil, you're communicating with the spiritual world. But how does a person who's not a psychic medium, what signs should they look for if they think, okay, maybe you're lifting that veil, but you're not speaking to whom I think you should be speaking to? Thank you, Missy. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, James. If you're going to go to somebody for a reading, do not give them any information and sit down and tell them, you'd like to talk to so and so, and know personally that the question that you ask, you'll know the answer to before you ask it. Like if you say, well, what's say, my dad and I went fishing one time. What kind of lure did I use, or what kind of rod did I use when we were together?
Okay.
That medium is not going to know that. If that person wants to pierce the veil, they'll come forward if it's real dad, and they'll know what it was and where you went to and all that. Do not offer any kind of information when you're going to get a reading. They're supposed to tell you. Do not answer a whole lot of questions other than tell them your name. That's it. And ask the question, and you probably know the answer. And if that answer isn't what you want to hear, then you're not really talking to that person, because you've got mediums out there that can read body language. They look at your eyes. They look the way you sit in a chair, or how you pull your clothes, or if you affirm something by shaking your head or something like that. They know how to read a person. And I've debunked a lot of person. I had a person one time come to me and to get a reading, and they started talking to me. I said, you need to be quiet. Ask me questions. Don't let me ask you questions. Well, they asked me questions, and after it was over with, they kind of cried a little bit. And he said, well, I went to so-and-so, and they didn't know that, but you knew it. Why did you know it? I said, well, I was able to get into the energy, which is a veil, and pull that energy out. Well, I paid this other person $500
Wow.
for 1 hour, and they didn't even tell me anything. And you told me what I wanted to know in 20 minutes, and you didn't charge me nowhere near that. Well, I said, they were taking you for a ride. And I said, do not go back to these people. I mean, this person was actually asking this person to buy him a car, and give him, a lot of money. I said, I said, how much money have you given this person? About $10,000. And I'm sitting there looking at him. And they said, you told me what I wanted to do. Even after all this time I've gone to this person, you told me what I wanted to know in 15 minutes. I said, I didn't tell them. I just got into the energy, where what they, the veil, but they understand energy, and I got it from there. And like I said, a lot of these mediums and everything that go to these events, if they see me walk in, I've actually seen them get up and leave, because they know I know what's going on with them.
So when they start, when the psychic medium starts asking you a bunch of questions and not giving answers, then they're just basically putting out feelers, is what they're trying to do.
They're doing to read your body language. You're there to get messages from them.
Yeah.
You're telling them what they want. You're giving them information that they turn around, recycle it back to you. I have gone to different I would say camps or something like that, and go around to different psychics and things like that, and watch their routine, and a lot, just about 100% of them that are not who they say they are. I can tell what they're doing. It's just like if you go to Las Vegas, you can if a professional gambler can walk around and see people cheating. That's me. That's how I know that they're not really penny trading anything. They're making it up as they go along.
Yeah. Now, someone's asking, and of course, as an exorcist, I can answer the question. Can you ask them if medication-resistant depression can be demonic oppression? Well, it can be, but not necessarily always. Anytime you're talking about health issues or things of this nature, I'm very, very cautious, because to immediately say, yep, if you are dealing with a medication resistant for depression, that's immediately demonic oppression. If anyone ever tells you that, that is so incredibly irresponsible, without the individual actually knowing your history, what's going on in your home. Because if you are having demonic oppression, then it automatically implies that you have demonic infestation in your home. So if you have oppression issues, then you're going to have manifestations of demonic infestation, meaning religious objects are desecrated, the smelling of sulfur or rotten flesh. Religious objects are desecrated, bangings, and it's just a crazy manifestation. It's very violent. Things can be thrown at you. And so you're going to have that activity. So so a lot of people will say, yes, absolutely. If you have medication and for depression or whatever, and if it's not working, that's a demon. You're demonically oppressed. I really think that's incredibly irresponsible for anybody to do that because, number one, they're not a doctor. Number two, without actually knowing the background and finding out if there's anything else going on in the person's home or life, I just think that would be very irresponsible for anyone to do that. So I would caution anybody to say, yep, that's because people, thank you, Missy. There are people who actually say that autism, there are preachers who preach that autism is demonic. Now, how preposterous, how irresponsible, how ignorant, how dangerous a statement like that is. It's unbelievably irresponsible. For any preacher that says this, they should be ashamed of themselves. And they've taught this. So let me just make this clear to everybody. When you're lifting the veil or you're thinning the veil, and this is what's going on, Willie, and I'd like to know your input on this. Right now, there are a lot of preachers, and this is what they're doing. They preach against psychic mediums. So they say psychic mediums is doing the work of the devil. That's what they say. It's evil. Those people are going to burn in the fiery pits of hell and all this other stuff. But here's what they're calling themselves. They're calling themselves prophets. And now what they're doing is during their big show, because that's what it is, it's a big show, they're doing psychic readings. So they're giving people psychic readings, but they're not calling themselves psychics. They're calling themselves prophets. And the prophecy, by the way, happens to be there. God is telling me that you have a serious back injury and that you're blah, blah. Okay, that's not what a prophet's supposed to do, number one. A prophet is not here to tell you about your back injury. That's not that's fraud. A prophet is here to tell the world or the culture that we are not, completing our end of the bargain with, the covenant that we made with God, that we are falling short with God. It is about a relationship with God and the responsibility of building that relationship with God. That's what a prophet is. A prophet is not someone who tells you that you have a back injury and that they're going to lay hands on you. No, that's a fraud. That's a fraud. So don't sit there and attack psychic mediums and then get on stage and then I'll do these psychic readings and just using the term prophet so that you can veil that, so that you can pretend that you're doing something other than, in fact, what you are doing. And I'm just kind of curious, how many people have you come across, Willie, that were, religious, if you will, and they're calling themselves prophets and they're doing these type of readings for an exorbitant amount of exorbitant. I mean, folks, the money they charge. And yet they have the audacity in the same breath to attack psychic mediums. Have you run across that, Willie?
Oh, yeah. I've run across it, James. As a matter of fact, I've watched it happen many a time, and Lord, if they find out, I call myself self-sensitive or a shaman. I've actually had to have police escorts take me out, take shamana me out of the building because our life was threatened. And we were escorted away from the building and down this road to make sure nobody tried to stop us.
That is just because you were calling people out.
Yeah. And James, I'd like to ask you a question.
Yeah.
When I know that when you do an exorcism, you make sure there's medical people around just in case something happens. How do you when you asked an ambulance to be standing by, how do you explain that to them? Do you go and you say, hey, I'm doing an exorcism tonight. I want you to stand by in case there's a problem. How do you tell people that?
Well, yeah, the good thing is because I've been doing this for so long, I do know people who are trained. Now they're not doctors. They're nothing like that, but they're able to take the basic the basic things. They know what to look for when a person is going to a heart attack or a person is going to a stroke. They know how to take your blood pressure. They know what to look for and the signs to look for, which I mean, I can educate myself, but I'm not trained medically. So when I have someone there that's, no, they're not a doctor. Sometimes they're a nurse. Sometimes they're an EMT. Sometimes they a nursing assistant, but they have some type of basic training in the physical and in the medical field, so that they can monitor the vitals, making sure the person's not going to a heart attack or stroke. Because I can't focus on that. My focus is on the prayer. And so thankfully, because I've done this for so long, I have friends that are trained medically and that they're willing to do this. But keep in mind, they're also involved in prayer too. So every person who is present, even the person who's monitoring the vitals of the individual, is still in the middle of prayer. There's no such thing as a person as a standby, as a bystander who's just watching. We've detected what? I don't know why it keeps doing that. Sorry, we've detected something. TikTok keeps doing this all the time. I had to put a puzzle together. I don't know. But anyway, so I always make sure that that there's somebody there that can focus on that while I can focus on the actual rite itself. Let me ask you, this veil that we've been talking about, I mean, it's a lot of people say that, it's a metaphorical type of thing. It's a metaphor. It's not something that it's actually like a curtain. But do you believe that this veil, and this is just your own personal opinion, first of all, do you believe that this veil actually exists? And if so, do you believe God allows us? Because there's a lot of people who say, nope, you cannot communicate with the spirit world. It doesn't exist. If you're doing it, you're always speaking to demons. Do you believe that? Obviously you wouldn't, but how would you describe that? How would you explain that if someone said, look, this veil, it's a man-made ideology. And anytime you're communicating with the spirit world, you're always communicating with demons. They say this and they're very passionate about that. How would you respond?
Well, James, everybody has the ability, has psychic abilities. And when the veil is thinned, the people that have a very spiritual heart is able to see this. I mean, I've actually seen the veil open, and I've seen like people walking around and then disappear. I've seen things come out that, like weird things, like creatures and things, and leave and go back into the veil. I think the veil opens up for Bigfoot. I really do, and they come through the veil and then they go back. I've seen, you take something like the Jersey Devil, and people see this and then it disappears, sees it and disappears. They haven't found one dead. They haven't found any bones or anything. They haven't found more than one when it comes back. So that, I believe the veil opens up in this one particular area that they see this thing in, and it comes out and goes back. Same thing with the Mothman and all that, so I think if a person's really got a sensitive and they're open to these things, they can see the veil open and close it all the time. I do.
Yes, Sky Guy. Yes, Sky Guy, you can. Sky Guy's asking a question. Getting a visual, can you use an Oculus 5 in your ministry? I bought one, decided I didn't want. Oh, wow. Absolutely. Yes. That would be wonderful, Sky Guy 8888. If you could send me a message on Facebook. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very, very much. Heck yeah. We use equipment to validate someone's claim, and that's very, very important. So let me just send you my, there you go. Sorry, I had someone's asking a question here. That's my Facebook. Just if you would send me a message. Oh, not that way, for heaven's sakes. Hold on, everybody. Sorry. But there, if I can put my name in right. Yeah, that's the best way. That's my Facebook. So yeah, that would be wonderful, Sky Guy. Thank you very, very much. A lot of people say, and by the way, Sky Guy, that would be wonderful, because I'm going back to the Gates of Hell Cemetery. I've been talking about doing this for a while. I haven't been able to because I got sick with COVID, and then I had unfortunately, I got my gallbladder went terribly bad. I agree. You're right, Matt. So I've been talking about going to the gates of hell and doing a documentary on this. And one thing that we can use is equipment, because it's absolutely so crucial, so important. Thank you, Dog Dave. Thank you, guys. Now, Willie,
James, you're talking about the veil. That'd be a good spot to work on that.
Well, let me tell you something. You mentioned the Mothman, and I will say this, and I like to know your opinion on this. I think I've told you about this. This is that one time we went to the gates of hell. And by the way, I'm the one that named it the gates of hell. 20 years ago, no one even knew the gates of hell even existed. It's an old abandoned cemetery in Kentucky. Nobody even knew that it existed. It's a hard place to find. And some people, some family members had contacted our team and asked if we'd go bless the grounds because people were desecrating it and doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And I said, sure. So we went and we investigated, and all hell broke loose on this place. And then we immediately the next day we went on online radio, because we were doing online radio at that time when it's infancy. And I said, man, this place is like the gates of hell. And they said, that's it. We're going to name it the Gates of Hell. And that's how the Gates of Hell Cemetery got its name. I know, because I was there over 20 years ago, and no one even knew the place even existed. And we went I talked about on the History Channel, the National Geographic, and Ghost Adventures. And so this place, it was 4 of us. We were at the back of the tree where this tree was. It was nighttime. The big trees are surrounding it. The top of the tree starts swaying back and forth. The crickets stopped doing the crickets. It was the middle of summer. It got really quiet. And so we knew, and we started seeing shadow people run. There were like hundreds of them running behind the trees, and it looked like they were trying to close in the entrance, and the entrance and the exit are the same path. But it looks like they were trying to surround us. So we said, it's time to go. We're not here to perform the minor rite of exorcism. We need to go. We did. We got out to the exit. Our backs were turned to the entrance. One of the investigators had a flashlight, and he had it flashing towards the tree. There's a tree there. And we heard the rattle. We heard the rattle of his flashlight. And we thought, what in the world's going on? So we turned around and we saw what he was looking at. Now, all of us saw this. Bishop David was there. I was there. 2 other people were there. We all saw this creature, Willie. And here's what this creature looked like. It was a big 10-foot bat. That's what it looked like. It had a long torso. We saw it. He had the flashlight. It was right on this sucker. The wings were spread out. We saw. We was so clear we could see the claws on the tree. The eyes were like a red, fluorescent red, and looking right at us. It didn't move. It didn't make any noise. But we all knew that if we stepped 1 inch closer, that thing was going to hurt us. So we said, that's it. We're done. We took off and we got out of there. Willie, what do you think? What on earth do you think that was?
It could be anything, James, that come out from the veil. That place is probably one of the openings that are opened and it's never been closed. So it's like an opening, like a portal for they to come back and forth from that veil.
Someone asking, no one got a picture. No. We weren't there to take pictures or investigate. Folks, let me tell you something. That was not a time I was going to snap pictures. There's very rare that I've ever been afraid during an investigation, if you will, or location. That was one time that I was afraid, because it was a different feeling. Like when you go to a place that has demonic infestation, you know it. You can feel it. There's no guessing about it. You know it. Thank you, Elaine. This was a different feel altogether. A total feel. This was a complete. It looked like a predator to me. It wasn't like a demonic. There was no demonic presence. It just felt very predatorial, and like as if we moved 1 inch closer, we were going to be attacked. We all knew it. It didn't make any noise. It was time to go. We were not going to push our luck. We all felt the same thing. I've said this a million times. I would take a lie detector test right here in front of the entire world on this. I don't know what it was that I saw. I know we saw something. People say Mothman. People say the Jersey Devil. I don't know. But I do know this thing is something that I never ever want to come across again, ever. And
it could have been an elemental too, James.
That's very true. Yeah. Tell people, because a lot of people may not know what elementals are. What are elementals?
it's an entity that's formed by nature. And I've ran into a couple. The last case I worked with about 8 years ago, it was an elemental case where they cleared a lot of land and cut a lot of trees down, and it made the land. It pissed off the land, and it formed little creatures that were going up to the house that was built on the property. And I was called out because they said that they were seeing gremlins and ghouls and stuff like that. But what it was nature elemental coming out of the forest. That what they did, they tore down their home, and they just wanted to stay on the property. And I had to make a pact with them to stay back into the tree line and not bother the people. And I put up a barrier and into that right there. But yeah, elementals are created by nature.
Yeah, and Bernard, thank you. Bernard says, "How I wish the means to support your ministry." What you're doing, that buddy. You're here, and I appreciate you subscribing. I appreciate all of you guys. And some people, and Rich Valdez, of course, we know Rich. He's all our friends, and Rich is said Kentucky's known for having many cryptids. That is absolutely 100% true. I don't know. There's this. That's the one thing people ask me all the time. Is there one investigation that kind of has drove you crazy, like it really bothers you? That's the one that really bothers me, because I can't define it. When you're dealing with the demonic possession or demonic infestation, I can define it. I can explain it from a theological perspective. I analyze it. I can define. This thing, I can't define it because I don't know what it was. But it was a different, I do. The only thing I can tell you is what we felt, what we saw, and that's it. But when I do this documentary, I will show you the tree. I will show you where we were. I'll do all that. Thank you. All that will be shown. I'm just waiting for the weather to kind of stop being so crazy. But Willie, if anybody, gosh, I can't believe it's already 8:15. So you're willing. Did you see my question out? What was your question there, Tara Lee? If you have a question. No, I have, keep in mind, folks, I have 3 computers running it at the same time. So I have one here on Clapper. I have here, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and KGRDB radio. And then I have one on here for TikTok. So I have 3 computers running at the same time. So there's a lot of computers. It's ever there. No, Rich, there were no sounds. This creature made no sound whatsoever. Nothing. The only movement that I saw was from the claws of its feet. And it kind of shuffled just a little bit. That's it. There was no sound, no screeching, nothing, no growls, no, nothing. So yeah. No, I didn't want to hang around. This was one thing that I didn't want to hang around. It was just a crazy place. Willie, if anybody wants to get in touch, and so Willie, you're okay with wanting to jump on board and teach people how to develop, how to find out, first of all, how to find out if you have the gifts of psychic and mediumship, if you have that. And then number 2, what can you do to strengthen your ability? So you're willing to jump on board and do that presentation?
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. How can people reach you, Willie?
Willie Gibson on Facebook. And Crystal Chief 55 at AOL.com.
Oh, Crystal Chief 55 at AOL.com. Let me put it in because I know I still have it. And of course, if you want to email him, again, for those of you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and KGRADB Radio, Crystal Chief 55 at AOL.com. And that's where you can meet. We're going to have Willie come back on. You let me know when you can do this, when you want to do this, Willie.
Okay.
And then we'll rock and roll and have that going. But so Crystal Chief 55 at AOL.com. Willie, thank you for being on. I appreciate you spending this time with us, and I look forward to the next show where you'll be teaching some folks some interesting techniques.
Oh, sure. Anytime, James.
All right. Thanks. Thank you, Willie.
Good night.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That was Willie Windwalker Gibson. Yeah, he's a great guy. Great guy. And we're not leaving yet. Our show goes until 8:50 or so. And so we appreciate Willie jumping on and talking to us and chatting with us. And thank you very much. Thank you guys for the gifts. I'm going to open up on TikTok for everybody to chat with us. Hopefully everybody be kind. So yeah, Willie's great. I will have him on. I think a little bit more because everybody loves Willie, and he's just one of those guys. He's just a class act kind of a guy. Okay, we have a lot of really very, very cool articles that I want to present to you guys and see what you guys think about this. And we'll answer some questions. If a supernatural entity attacks you in a dream, is it a warning? Well, it depends. Not necessarily. That can also be, if you remember, here, folks, listen. People are always asking me about that. You're going to have other manifestations if it's a demonic. If you're only having these issues in a dream and there's nothing else occurs, then 9 times out of 10, you're experiencing some form of internal anxiety. And so when you have demonic issues that influences your dream or causes those issues, you're going to have other manifestations in your home. And people seem to forget that. You can't separate the two. So that's the best way I would describe that. Okay. And we'll do that presentation. I'm sure I'm going to, yeah. Someone's asking me out. Are you sure you want to, someone's asking me on Messenger, you sure you want to open up that can of worms? I do. I don't care. Here's the deal. I don't care. People can say and think whatever. They can think whatever they want to about me. I don't care. I have friends that are psychic mediums. I support them. I know they're gifted. And if people have a problem with that, well, then go talk to your therapist. I'm not in session. Okay. Yeah, it's Crystal Chief. It's CRYSTAL, Crystal Chief, all one word, Crystal Chief 55 at AOL.com. So that's how you spell it. Crystal Chief 55, and he's really cool. The dolls. Yeah, there's the doll behind us. So that's the doll from Eli Roth show. So the angry bishop, not angry at all, not at all. Just don't care about trolls, because trolls don't affect me. See, trolls are very narcissistic, and they think that their little middle school, grade school kind of comments are going to affect me. That's narcissism. So I always tell people, oh, you have an opinion on how I should live my life. Okay. And which bill of mine are you going to pay this month? It's funny how they never open their checkbook, but they always open their mouths. Isn't that interesting? So I don't care. Trolls don't affect me at all. I just completely ignore them. So there we go. Now listen to this. By the way, this I want to point this out. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Missy. Thank you. You've been very kind this month. Thank you. It's Willie Gibson. And by the way, again, folks, Willie Gibson, Gibson, Gibson. Okay. Listen to this. This is by well, I don't know. Trying to find from the NewtownPanNow.com. There we go. An inaugural paranormal convention being hosted in Bucks County. So the conference will be hosted this weekend in Bucks County Community College. Will host the inaugural Bucks County Paracon, a one-day event dedicated to the exploration of the paranormal. So the event will take place tomorrow, 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. this Saturday at the ZOCK Performing Arts Center. That's ZLOCK. So you can look it up. ZOCK, ZLOCK Performing Arts Center at the Community College New Township campus on Swamp Road. Organized with the aim of offering an immersive experience into the supernatural, Bucks County Paracon will feature a lineup of speakers, engaging presentations, and an assortment of vendors. The event is expected to attract enthusiasts of ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs, and other paranormal phenomena. Paranormal investigator Eric Mental, alongside spirit medium Dominic Sattel, will host the event at the community college. So they have a lot of folks, some speakers there, a lot of people I've known in the paranormal community. So you can go, if you want to go there, it's at bucks.edu/tickets. So that's where they are. That's what they'll be having it. So if you're in the area, if you know the area, well, knock yourself out. That's pretty cool. Looks pretty cool. Yeah. Anyway, if you're interested, then go for it. And I'm trying to see some information here. Yeah, it's in I think it's in Pennsylvania. Yeah, it's Pennsylvania. So, okay, Bucks County Community College. There we are. So we did our little PSA announcement for the day. So yeah, some people really like it. How am I not afraid of what? Demons? Corey, are you asking how am I not afraid of the demons? Oh, thank you there, Chase. Thank you. It's very nice. That's very kind of you. Thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah, and Nessie, thank you. Again, thank you for the gifts. I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, Corey, you have to explain if you're for me or. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you loving the channel. Okay, so let's go into this one. I want to share this one. This is from Zoe Mitchell. Listen to this, guys. This is an interesting article. Very interesting. If you've not read about this, you might want to check this out. There are 3 children from Zimbabwe that are tormented, by a sadistic poltergeist. So a family with 3 children from it's in Zimbabwe encountered a violent, invisible entity that attacks their children day and night. According to local media, 3 children of undisclosed gender, ages 3, 12, and 8, live under the care of the grandparents. And last fall, something evil settled in their house. Quote, "We don't know what to do about it. Started last November. One morning, our children woke up and the hair was shaved off their heads. We thought it was just some kind of accident. But the next day, our youngest child woke up in the middle of the night screaming loudly. Someone stabbed him in the leg. Someone shaved the hair off his head again. Apparently, this means that in each case, only separate sections of hair were shaved off. Says we were all horrified and didn't understand at all what was happening. Says one of the adults, his voice trembling with fear. Since those days, paranormal events began to occur in their house on a regular basis. And now something was opening and closing windows and doors, turning lights on and off, stealing pots from the kitchen and food from the refrigerator. Then they began to hear sounds in the kitchen, as if someone was preparing food there. But when they came into the kitchen, it was empty. We turned to different prophets and churches for help, but after each attempt, the situation only got worse. Doors and windows opened inexplicably, and our children's clothes, especially their school uniforms, were torn, and they could no longer attend school. They said that we hired a spiritual healer for a cleansing ceremony, and the next day our house mysteriously caught fire. That is classic poltergeist case. Classic, right there. Our house mysteriously caught fire, but only the bedrooms were damaged. Everything in the kitchen and dining room was untouched. The number one form of destruction with poltergeist is fire. In an attempt to save the children from an invisible tormentor, they sent all 3 to their maternal grandmother, who lives in South Africa. But the poltergeist followed them, and everything continued there. To explain why. The children were still attacked by someone invisible at night and beaten. Dishes broke by themselves, clothes were scattered around the house, and then money began to disappear from the house to no one knows where. After this, the children returned back to Zimbabwe. Says we've tried to protect the children by sending them to sleep at the neighbor's house, but the riots followed them there too. Last night, the neighbor's room was trashed again, and it was flooded with water. We're at a loss. Children suffer the most, and there's no peace. All the neighbors are afraid of us, and we don't know where to turn. We beg for any help that we can get. I wish I was in Zimbabwe. The children's grandmother tearfully said that neighbors now call her a witch. This is why I do this, folks. This is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this ministry. Because you have trolls, you have individuals who attack the innocent. And now they're blaming this grandmother for being a witch. Now you can say it's cultural. That's fine, but it's also spiritual. It's also religious. They're blaming her. So now the people are blaming her for what happened. She's 80 years old. She says, at 80 years old, I've never practiced witchcraft or used any charms. I'm a Christian, but some neighbors accuse me of witchcraft, believing that I am behind these misfortunes. And because of this, no one helps us. When the fire broke out, neighbors watched instead of helping, fueled by these suspicions. And when a film crew from the B Metro News site visited this home, a large brick flew through the window out of nowhere, breaking glass, and it is unclear whether this was a manifestation of poltergeist or whether one of the neighbors threw the brick. The neighbors, where the children were sent to spend the night, told reporters that something evil clearly wants to unalive these children. It says, these children were sleeping in my living room when the kettle and cups of my cupboard were mysteriously moved and used to hit the children throughout the night. Quote, my grandson, who was sleeping nearby, ran away in fear and fell asleep in the cupboard. I'm convinced that these invisible forces have one goal, to unalive my children. I'm afraid that they may even pass away, even under my care. The 13-year-old girl, whose name has not been released, said supernatural attacks have made her life miserable. Something seems to be trying to strip her naked when she gets ready for school. Because of this, she is forced to stop attending classes. She says, I'm afraid to go to school because whenever I get ready, I find that my uniform is torn or missing. It has become impossible for me to attend classes because my entire uniform is damaged. I have nothing to wear. Sometimes we get slapped or hit under rocks that seem to appear out of nowhere, turning our lives into a living nightmare. So here's the deal. Obviously, this family is going through the pure hell. Now, poltergeist, it means noisy ghost. It's not a ghost at all. It has nothing to do with a ghost. It is energy. It is negative energy that someone is omitting, who is going through extreme emotional stress. It mimics demonic activity to a point, but there's no intent behind it. So what I mean by that, there's no intelligence behind it. It's just negative energy that's manifested through someone going through extreme stress. So a lot of times you'll have fire, light bulbs popping, things can be thrown. These things that they're explaining can absolutely happen during a poltergeist case. However, when it begins to interact and there is intent behind it, that's intelligent. Now, I absolutely believe that, no doubt, these people probably were suffering from some type of poltergeist case. And unfortunately, it's a situation where I think demonic has gotten involved. Now, a demon does not need poltergeist energy to manifest. So they simply don't need that. For example, if it's just a poltergeist case, I can perform a million minor rite of exorcisms and it does nothing. It does absolutely nothing. But once you remove the person from the home who's going through extreme emotional stress, the activity will stop. Sometimes there's a residual energy, but it's very limited. You bring that person right back in the house, and then activity starts up again. So it seems to me that this probably started as a poltergeist case, someone going through extreme emotional stress, and then a demonic. Now, it could be, again, when you have superstitions involved, people also can place curses. They can do a lot of things unnecessary to this family. There's a lot of things that can go on. So I hope that this family is able to find some type of relief from this activity. But this is what really irritates me by people who call themselves Christians and are the very first ones to throw stones. The very first ones to judge, calling her a witch, an 80-year-old woman who's terrified herself, who doesn't understand what's going on. This is why I do this ministry. People say, well, prove to me that demons exist. I'm sorry, narcissist. I'm not here to prove to you anything. Sorry, the world doesn't revolve around you. I'm not here to prove to you anything, because I'm here to help the families who know they do. I don't have time to prove to you that demons exist because I'm too busy helping families who know they do. This is not a circus. I'm not here to perform. So if you don't believe, I don't care. Don't believe. But that you're not going to, then, well, I'm not going to believe unless you show me. I'm sorry, I'm too busy. Don't have time. Don't have time. Either you believe or you don't. Well, I'm a Christian. Well, if you're a Christian, then you're going to sit there and say that demons don't exist, so you call Christ a liar. Because Christ said they did. That was a ministry that Christ even gave his disciples and told his disciples to do. So I don't have to prove anything to you. If you're going to call yourself a Christian, and this was a ministry that Jesus bestowed upon his disciples, then why do you need any proof from me? Shouldn't that be proof enough? Just saying. So, yeah, it's a sad story, terrible story. Oh, I do. Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. I do ignore them. I'm just making a statement that people say that all the time. Like, okay, yeah, it's crazy. There are a lot of people say that some countries have more demonic activity than others. You know, I have a master's of business and a master's of education, so statistics are important, especially with a master's of business. And I really haven't found that to be necessarily valid. Now, there does seem to be countries that are more willing to accept demonic possession than others. And that could certainly be cultural and religious. No doubt about it. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Yeah, I wish we could. Yeah, wouldn't it be great to fly to Zimbabwe to help them? I wish we could. But it's one of those things that, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. How many of you, we've talked about this before. Purgatory is just a stage of cleansing. I don't see, you priced my ticket, Judy Ann. And I want to thank Judy Ann. Judy Ann has been wonderful with our upcoming retreat. She has helped us out tremendously with items that we needed to make it a success. So thank you very much. What would you do to help them? Well, I would definitely perform them. Well, first of all, I would have to validate the claims, number one. So I would verify this through an investigation. Then after the investigation, depending on what we find, then we can kind of go from there, whether or not it's poltergeist, whether or not it is poltergeist and demonic. It would really just depend. So that's what I would do. An investigation would be the very first thing that I would do. No question. And an investigation entails not only to investigate the home, but also investigation to talk to the family members and ask them, perhaps, maybe, did you do anything? Because they're always, if it's demonic, we have to find out the core reason. That's really important. The core reason, most of the time when you're dealing with demonic infestation, not all, is that there was some form of invitation. It could be accidental or purposeful. So let's say that you found a Ouija board and you didn't know, and you had no idea, and you were at the age of reason, and you played with the Ouija board and you didn't know. It's advertised as a game, so you didn't. Obviously, a child at the age of reason still doesn't understand the long-term consequences. Even adults don't seem to understand the long-term consequences. So I would find out, well, was there any type of invitation? That would have to be witchcraft. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, someone could easily place the curse. Matter of fact, I had a case that was the only way. That she was 68 years old. It was a very violent incubus case. As a matter of fact, I even had her daughter. She's an adult. She came on the show and she talked about her mom. It was an unbelievably violent case, and the only conclusion that had to be the curse. And that was placed upon this woman because she never did anything to open up that invitation. Thank you there, Monster. Okay. Yep. Okay. By the way, I believe that some of you may not, and that's fine. That's fine. No, we're good. But I do believe that there is, and Bigfoot exists. I do believe them because there's too many people. There's too many credible people who have said that they've seen them. They've heard them. A matter of fact, I talked about this before. During Psalm 23, Psalm 91, Melanie. So I had a game warden from Alaska on the show, and he's a native Alaskan. And of course, he's game warden. He's game warden for many years. And he absolutely 1,000,000%. He was convinced that he saw Bigfoot. And then I asked him, I said, well, a lot of people might think that, you saw a moose or a bear. And he made a valid point. He said, listen, I'm a native Alaskan. We live, we hunt. Everything is the woods for us. I am a game warden. If I don't know the difference between a Bigfoot, a bipedal creature, a bear, and a moose, that I probably should not be a game warden for the state of Alaska. And he had a very valid point. So all the haters were saying, well, he probably just got him confused. Okay. He's a native Alaskan. He knows the difference between a bear, Bigfoot, and so he absolutely, and he's not selling anything. He doesn't want to be on television shows. He just wants to tell a story. So he doesn't have anything to gain by telling this. Actually, he has everything to lose because then people think, oh yeah, right, whatever. And then he gets, hate from the trolls. This is from Jake Carter. Listen to this. Is Bigfoot roaming the Devon coast? A group of hikers found a huge footprint that could belong to the elusive creature. So if you're a fan of cryptozoology, you might be familiar with, well, thank you there, Missy. Thank you. You've been very kind. You might be familiar with the legend of Bigfoot, the hairy humanoid that is said to inhabit the forest of North America. But did you know that there have been sightings and reports of similar creatures in other parts of the world, including the UK, everywhere? And one such case happened earlier this month when a group of hikers stumbled upon a mysterious footprint along the coastal path in Devon, England. The print was so large and clear that it looked like it had been made by a giant bare foot. I'm looking at it. It looks like a big old foot. That's what it looks like to me. You can go to Google and Devon Live News Bigfoot. That's what you can Google. You can see it yourself. Devon, Devon. I think I'm saying it right for those of you in the UK. Devon Live News. And so the group followed the trail for about 20 meters and discovered that it came from the nearby Watcombe Woods. Thank you. And one of the hikers who wished to remain anonymous said, quote, "The prints were big." He says, "I'm a size 11, and they were half as big." His feet. So that means it was size 22. Clearly a bare foot. Every print was perfect, like the one in the photo. It has on this thing here. We were weirded out by it. It was not something we expected to see on a Sunday walk. Thank you, everybody. The footprint measured about 40 centimeters, about 20 centimeters wide. It had 5 toes. It resembled the many alleged Bigfoot prints that have been found in North America over the years, which have fueled the speculation that there is a hidden population of ape-like beings living in the wilderness. Some researchers have suggested that Bigfoot could be a relic of an ancient hominid species that survived the Ice Age, adapted to different environments. Sure. Others have proposed that Bigfoot could be an interdimensional being. We talked about the veil, the spiritual veil being lifted or thinning, and a lot of people think that that's what they could be. It's a theory that can travel between worlds and manifest in a physical form. Still, others have argued that Bigfoot could be a paranormal phenomenon that is linked to UFOs, ghosts, and other supernatural forces. Of course, there's also more mundane explanations for the footprint. It could also have been a hoax made by someone with a large wooden or rubber foot. No question about it. So go and you can just Google Devon, Devon, Devon in the UK, Bigfoot. And it'll come up and you'll actually be able to see this big footprint. So it's pretty, we don't know. I don't know. I've never seen a Bigfoot, but I know a lot of people who are quite credible and they swear that they have. Okay. So who am I to say, no, you didn't see a Bigfoot? I mean, come on. Who am I? Some people just so quick. No, they didn't. Were you there? No. Well, then shut up. Okay. Let's see. Do you believe Bigfoot can portal places around the planet? I do. Yeah. We just simply don't know. It's one of those things we just simply don't know. I bet Billy, I'll do a presentation again on Mothman. I've done a presentation before, and yeah, see, that's the thing. A lot of people say, "Well, they didn't see a Bigfoot," and then were you with them when they saw it? No. So then, why are you opening your mouth? You weren't there. You don't know what they saw. How can you say yes or no if they saw it or not? Well, I just don't believe it. Well, I'm sorry, but the world doesn't revolve around you. If they're telling you they saw it, then okay. I'm not necessarily saying that I always agree, but my goodness gracious, people are always, well, no, they didn't. Okay, you know what? You weren't there. Unless you were there, zip it. Come on. People are so quick to be so negative. The chupacabra. Yeah, the chupacabra is an interesting little cryptid, isn't it? It's an interesting little creature. A lot of people think that chupacabra is just a rabid animal that just kind of gone a little cuckoo, but we don't know. I am a Catholic. I am Catholic. Yep. Here's the next question. Which Catholic are you? They have Listen, I think they have evidence for a lot of things. So, and Native Americans, and why are Native Americans hard to give a spiritual presence? Well, and see, that's the thing. A lot of people immediately say that that all Native Americans, every time there's something evil, they always say, "Is it Native American grounds?" And that irritates me a bit because my grandmother and my grandfather were Native Americans. Not everything is always, when you have bad things going on the grounds. Is it Native American? That's why there's demons. Oh, it's like, come on. Okay. Yeah, we don't know. We simply don't know. It's an interesting thing. Right. I agree, Lucille. See, here's the thing. It's amazing how many people have not seen Bigfoot but believe in it, and that's true. I'm not seeing $1 million bill, but apparently it exists. I'm not seeing a private 747 jet, but apparently it exists. I believe that there are a lot of people who are very credible, who have told their story as just like the game warden in Alaska. He has nothing to gain. See, if he was making a book or writing a book, or if he was trying to get on a television show or a movie, then you can say, okay, there's ulterior motives going on. He's not. There's no book. He has no intention on writing a book. He has no intention on selling his story. He just wants to tell people what he saw. So therefore, you can't attack ulterior motives. There are no ulterior motives. He's not making a buck off of it. As a matter of fact, he gets a lot of flack from it. So that's why when people like that come forward, and especially many people who are indigenous to the area, to certain areas, they will say, of course there's Bigfoot. We've seen them. Well, they have no reason to lie about that. So to me, it's kind of like, that's why I take stock in people's experiences, because for me to diminish their experience and say, no, that didn't happen, then I'm basically calling them a liar. And that to me, that now you're attacking the credibility of the individual. And unless you were there, you have no authority or right to call someone a liar. So thank you very much, Lynn. And I'm not saying you necessarily have to always agree. You can say, well, perhaps maybe you saw this, or perhaps maybe you saw that. But the minute you say, no, you didn't see that, well, that's the big difference. That's right. The Gina believes that you cannot diminish anyone's experience. And that's true. Very, very true. Oh, Cherokee tribal citizen here. Well, Dave, yeah, my grandmother and grandfather were Cherokee. My grandmother belonged to the Pocahontas group. I don't know if they're still around. And my grandfather belonged to the Red Men organization, a Red Face Men. And I don't think they're still around, but they did a lot of really wonderful work. You were going to ask us something. I was, and I completely forgot because I'm naturally blonde. I do have friends. I just talked to Willie Windwalker Gibson. I believe that there are people who are gifted. And by the way, and again, for the hater gators out there, and there's going to be a lot of hater gators when I say this, don't care. I don't care. Willie Windwalker Gibson is a shaman, and he is also gifted. He is a psychic, and he's a medium. I know he is. I've experienced it. I've seen his gifts, and people are going to say, oh, he's demonic. Okay, shut up. You have no right to call anybody demonic because you don't know. He's not demonic. He's a Christian. He's a very devout Christian. Anyway, I just had him on earlier, and he is going to give us a presentation on, first, how do you know if you're psychic medium? And number two, if you are, how do you develop those gifts? And again, if you don't like it, then guess what? Just scroll on by. You scroll by. You flip the channel, do whatever you got to do. So anyway, that's I got to go to the Enfield Demon House, by the way. I need to go there. I've been wanting to go to that Enfield Demon House. So I'll talk to him. I will talk to him about that and find out when is good for him. So, yeah, I'll talk to him about that. I think you can actually get it on $58 on Etsy. Matter of fact, I told everybody. People were saying, people were asking about my ring and saying that I'm a gaudy bishop, and that they knew that I was actually doing all this for money, and going on and on and on. And then I said, okay, sunshine, that's why you can buy this on Etsy for $58. As a matter of fact, here's the name of the place, and this is the name where you can go. So $58, you can get yours too. See, pretty simple. Yeah, okay. What are you going to do? Yeah, I'm rich. Yeah, I'm rich. I'm rich in my mind. I've taken a vow party, so $58. Yeah. Let me tell you the name of the store, as a matter of fact, so that the hater gators out there can say, oh, I knew you were doing this for money. I knew you were doing this for money. Okay. All right. That's fine, sunshine. Let's see. It's on Etsy. They should sponsor the show. ELZ Silver. That's the name of the shop. ELZ Silver. Actually, it's $48.75. So you can get any cheaper. See? So this big, yeah, it's okay. So you can get it for $48.75. See, boys and girls, $48.75. That's where it is. Okay, so for all those hater gators out there you go. For all those hater gators and trolls. Okay. Daymares. Have you ever heard of this? Have you ever heard of daymares? Yeah, like instead of nightmares. Daymares. So let me give you a little bit of information. This was pretty cool. I saw this. Oh, absolutely. RX Queen. Yeah. And RX Queen, by the way, we have night prayer coming up at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard. So if you would like to pray with us, join us. Please join us. You get money, what? If you get money, you give it away to someone that's in need. Right, I agree. So go to bishopjameslong.com and scroll down to where it says night prayer. If you click on that link, at 9:45 we play music, and then at 10 o'clock we start. Okay, so we'd love to have you guys. Repent and submit to Rome. Oh, goodness. Hey, bye-bye, Felicia. Yeah, let's repent and go to Rome. You mean Rome, where they actually allow priests to harm children? That Rome? I think I'm fine right here. Okay. Just stating facts. Gibson, Gibson. Willie Gibson. Fine God. I haven't lost him, have you? Bye-bye. Gibson, Gib. Sorry. The trolls are coming out. The trolls have come out of their playpen, and now they want to get attention. So, yeah, it's like, yeah. I don't know. You know, I don't know if I'm sure the Vatican does have documentation on UFOs for big. Maybe you should auction it off for big money to buy a new one. It's $48. You can buy a new one for $48. That's funny. Okay. If you have any questions, let's just do questions because a lot of people have questions. So let's just do that, and then we'll do the articles tomorrow. I did meet Jack. I was on a show. I was on Jack Osborne's show when he went to Bobby Mackey's. They stopped in Ohio. They asked me to stop by, so I did his show. And he's a very nice guy, wonderful, really cool guy. Now tomorrow, I'm not leaving here, folks, but listen carefully. Tomorrow I'm doing a show, and it's open mic night from 8 o'clock to 8:30. Miss PM Eastern Standard Time. Miss Wilma and I will come on and we'll goof off, have a good time, tell jokes. Then I will have a doctor come on tomorrow night. He is a medical doctor. He is a surgeon. His name is Dr. Danny Hanna. That is his name. Again, he's a medical surgeon. And he performs surgery for individuals who are transgendered. Now, why am I doing this? There's a lot of people talk about transgendered rights and surgery and things of this nature. I'm not a doctor, but when I learn about a topic, whether I agree with it or not, I want to go to credible sources. So he is a medical doctor, and I'm going to ask him questions about that. The surgery, his thoughts on kids and transitioning. Would he perform surgery on kids? Would he not? We're going to ask all kinds of questions respectfully. We're not going to be here to argue. We're not going to be here to yell at one another. We're not going to do any of that stuff. That's not, I don't do that. We're not kids here. So that's going to be tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm doing this because I'll admit I don't understand transgendered, the mentality of feeling that you're born in the wrong body, because I'm not. I identify with what I was born, but that still means that I should still learn and have empathy towards people who are going through that. We're not here to argue about the political issues. We are here to learn from a doctor about his perspective and why he performs these surgeries. And if he feels that children should have surgeries, does he perform these surgeries on children? These are the questions that we're going to ask him. And so that's tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He'll be calling in live at 8:35. For those of you on Spreaker, I'm going to have to say goodnight to you guys. It goes by so fast. My gosh. Now, by the way, Mr. Producer and everybody else, I will not be here next week. I will not be here next Friday. I'll be out of town because we have our retreat that's going to happen. So I will not be here next week. I will be here on next Sunday for Bible study, but not for Friday or Saturday show. I tell you all the time, TikTok, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay with you guys a little bit longer. But I tell you all the time, your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. Remember, friends, you're priceless. Never let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRADB Radio. God bless. The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.